Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. This is Saturday, May 18th, the Major League Baseball recap of Thursday there. So recording this on Friday. Already got us a Friday afternoon winner, which is a lot of fun. Same old this week as we've been talking about. For the most part, seem to be losing the close ones. Again, that'll turn around. No big fear there. But again, when we've had times where we haven't done these recaps on the show because of the timing and trying to figure that out and coding and all this stuff. So I was typing in my hand. But transparency has always been a big thing here for me, whether it's on show explicitly or not. You can always go to the website, www.pickswiththeprofessor.com. At the bottom, see everything tracked. When things win, it's tracked there. When things lose, it's tracked there, and whatnot. And I believe it's important to, of course, post when things aren't going well as well, because then that way when things are going well, you can believe, that we're not messing with you, because we will show the losses as well. Here on Thursday, got the pick that we gave out here on the Mets at plus odds, even though they gave us a heart attack. So that was at least good. Play of the day. Again, slowly crawling back to positive. It's just a terrible first couple of weeks. No parlay yesterday, as there were not a lot of games available for us here on Thursday. We do have one for Friday. Honorable mentions first, maybe weeknight for them really all season. But again, overall, just a kind of a frustrating week, but really just kind of ho-hum. Here, the model's still doing okay. Again, slowly but steadily getting better and better. Again, after a little bit of a rough start for those full game plays, but then the first fives continue to look good. Again, B grades are the model's strongest picks now. A little tweak there where the A grades are the B grades that I like the most. And so that's how we're designating things. Hopefully that streamlines the process. If you're new, then that means nothing to you. Of course, if you're been with us for a while, hopefully you're adjusting to. Hopefully you like the process a little bit easier to digest. Exactly what I like. Some quick reminders here before we get started. If you're interested in joining Dub Club, we're doing a weekend sale. Code WKD for the 4-month package is now on sale for $99.99 for 4 months. That'll get you through almost the end of baseball season and into the start of the football. So if you're interested in baseball picks, this is a good time to jump in and say, great discounted price. You're getting 4 months for cheaper than the price of 3 regular. So if you are interested in all of these baseball picks, all the A grades play of the day, our Discord chat, we have a great little community of people, a lot of chatter there, a lot of fun, a lot of back and forth about the games, picks, things people like, etc. All sorts of benefits over there on Dub Club. Again, the 4-month package, if you use promo code WKD, will get you that for $99.99. That's only $25 a month here for this summer, this weekend only. If you're interested in more information about the model, the community rules, pickswiththeprofessor.com/new is the place for that. Weather is subject to change. We're about 24 hours-ish away from the start of most of these games from the time of this recording. Some games a little bit more, some games a little bit less. We are projecting the average winner, the average game. We don't know what's going to happen in one game. Nobody does. And so that's why we view this in terms of probability, which means let's look at a bunch of games, not just one. If we say a team wins 55% of the time, that means they will lose 9 out of 10. We aren't going to win every game. Thankfully, we aren't going to lose every game either, but that's what makes anything a good bet at the right price or the right number, no matter how terrifying it is. And sometimes the best plays are terrifying because everyone's afraid of them. Nobody's putting money on that. The books are begging you to put money on it. And sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't. But again, if we're getting good prices, if we have an anchor point that says this is what a good price is, that's going to help us be successful. That's what we've done here. That's the models that I've built here. Many of you are well aware of that. But as always, of course, take what you like and leave the rest. Last but not least, if you could like the show, we would like that. So hit that like button if you could. That helps us out. We really appreciate it. Going to start off here, 1:05 p.m. in the afternoon, one early afternoon game. White Sox and the Yankees, about 60 degrees for this one. Slight breeze in, slight breeze across. It's going to make the difference between it being a fairly pitcher-friendly game and a very pitcher-friendly game. Exactly what that wind's doing. Probably the difference between a projected total runs more around 8 or 8.5, depending on exactly what that wind does. Right now, the model's kind of cutting the difference between those two. Brad Keller and Luis Gil. Keller looked very reasonable in his first outing as a starter. He's pitched a little bit in relief. Underlying metrics are fine. He doesn't get a very good projection because he hasn't done that much this year. And in previous seasons, he's been very below average. Luis Gil, 2.51 ERA, continues to look really good. Underlying metrics are pretty solid, 3.67 FIP. His xFIP's at 4.13. That's in line with his projection. If he pitches like that xFIP all season, he's probably more average than anything else. He should have success here on Saturday in a slightly pitcher-friendly ballpark with some pitcher-friendly conditions against a pitcher-friendly offense in the White Sox. We've got this one as the Yankees winning 72% of the time. The market's got it at 71%. We think that it should be minus 257. You have to pay minus 265. So even though we're 1% higher than the market, the juice means there's really no value on either side here. I would not be playing the White Sox unless I got an insane price that we are not going to be seeing. If I was going to play the White Sox, I'd play it first five because at least I trust Keller a little bit more than their relievers. But again, no first five market out right now, so I can't really talk about it. But as always, the White Sox, it's fade them full game because their bullpen's terrible, or if you take them first five. But right now, it doesn't look like there's a lot of value there. Again, the market might be thinking the weather's a little bit more pitcher-friendly than the model thinks right now. But if the weather turns out to be, slightly blowing in more than across, that model projection is going to get a lot closer to 8. So it might not be a lot of value here on the early game. But again, we'll see if there's first five edge on here. And again, if nothing else, if you're with us over on Dub Club, you can hit me up on Discord and we can talk about what I'd play if I had to, if you're just looking to have some action on this as the standalone early game. Pirates and the Cubs, 2:20 p.m. Eastern, about 70 degrees for this game, wind blowing. Same situation, slightly in, slightly across, about 10 miles an hour. And it's going to make the difference between turning what can be an overall slightly hitter-friendly ballpark in Chicago into a pitcher-friendly ballpark or a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. It won't be extremely pitcher-friendly like we sometimes see, in April night games where it's 40 degrees and 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing in. But it's gonna be slightly pitcher-friendly. If I had to guess, Bailey Falter and Shote Imanaga. Falter, 4.15 ERA. Underlying metrics are closer to 5. Does not grade out well. Imanaga, has been fantastic all season. There's really not much else to say about it. 0.96 ERA, FIP in the low 2s, xFIP in the low 3s. A really good pitcher, continues to get better with regards to grade. Improving, can only improve so much because we already kind of thought highly of him to start with. But massive starting pitcher gets for the Cubs, of course, here. Their offense is better. The bullpen's the only area the Pirates have an edge in. It won't matter if they don't have a lead going in to the late innings, though, or if they're not even close because the Cubs bullpen's not good. But, you kind of think there's a decent chance the Cubs have a solid little lead here. Bounce back spot for the Cubs here after what's happening to them on Friday afternoon. We've got the Cubs winning this game 64% of the time. The market says 65%. So another situation like the Yankees where we've got the home team favored by a decent little bit, but the market's got them favored by just a little bit more, just a little bit less, somewhere in that ballpark. But with the juice, there's not really value on either side. So very similar setup. No total projection because, again, as always, the books like to wait as long as possible to post a total for a game in Wrigley, knowing how impactful the win can be at that stadium. Rays and the Jays, 3:07 p.m. Eastern, only game at this time slot as well. So the first 3 games, you got a 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and a 3 o'clock Eastern start. Mid-60s, a chance if it's sunny, maybe they'll open the roof up here in Toronto. Might close. It could kind of go either way. Zach Eflin and Kevin Gausman. Eflin, 3.91 ERA. That's about what he projects. Underlying metrics are slightly better than that. Very good pitcher, up to number 20 in starting baseball. There are at least 10 pitchers better than him on the IL. So it's not that he's necessarily the 20th best starting pitcher. It's that there's just a lot of guys hurt at this point, and the ratings are only considering healthy starting pitchers. Kevin Gausman grades a little bit better than him, ranking number 13. Does have a slightly inflated ERA this year. It's up to the upper 4s, but xFIP of 3.49 for the season. He will be just fine. We often talk about this time of the year. Who do we look at the ERA and say, everyone's overreacting, calm down? Who do we look at the ERA and say, this is a problem, right? That stuff. How do we overreact or not overreact? How do we not underreact, et cetera? Don't overreact with Gausman. I'm not concerned about his ERA. He will be just fine. His underlying metrics look really good. He's the better shooting pitcher, not by much, but by a little bit. Both these offenses, as I mentioned before, really rely on facing lefties. They're a little bit right-handed heavy. The Rays getting a little more healthier, getting a couple of their left-handed bats back helps, but in general, both these offenses are much closer to average against right-handed pitching. And against good right-handed pitching, that can get even worse. Both these bullpens are about the same. This is a pretty even contest across the board. Give the Jays a slight edge because of Gausman being better. Give them a slight edge being at home. And we have arrived at the same probability the market has. Both of us have this at 56%. So no real edge one way or the other. A game where the total should be between 7.5 and 8. That's exactly what the market has. So right now, really not a lot happening here in some of these afternoon games. At least as of now, maybe there'll be first 5 picks over on Dub Club in the morning. Rockies and Giants, 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Handful of games here at this start time. Looks like 3 of them. Upper 50s, slight breeze out, across, might pick up at times. It swirls around in that part, doesn't really mean a whole lot. Should still be a pitcher-friendly environment for Ty Blach and Jordan Hicks. The former hasn't pitched a lot this year, but is pretty solid. Underlying metrics are pretty reasonable. Pretty good numbers for pitching some of his innings in cores. Definitely pretty respectable guy. The Rockies bullpen, not great. The Rockies offense, terrible, but not quite as, maybe bad as it looked a week ago before this little hot streak. I guess there was a time when they graded out more in the mid-60s. Jordan Hicks for the Giants has been really good. We love to back him. 2.44 ERA. Underlying metrics more in the upper 3s, but still very good. A little bit of a concern, again, of how deep he can go. That's part of the rating, is not just how good you are per inning, but how many innings you can go. Giants bullpen behind them, kind of a mixed bag. There's times when I feel like pretty confident in the Giants bullpen. There's times when I don't. And that grade probably aligns with that fairly well. Again, we're in pretty lockstep with the market. 63% according to the model, 63% according to the market. We would be a little bit lower on the total than the market. Big question there on the total is, what is that wind going to do? It looks like it's blowing out right now, and depending on exactly what swirls happen or don't happen, that might be a little bit scary. But again, I have pretty decent faith in both of these starting pitchers. I have more faith in the starting pitchers and the bullpens, honestly, than I do the offenses. So there's a reason why the total in this game is so low. Mariners and Orioles, about 60 degrees, slight breeze blowing in, but the cooler temperatures are going to make this a fairly pitcher-friendly late afternoon contest. Luis Castillo against Dean Kremer. We have not confirmed if Kremer is the pitcher for the Orioles at this point. They were a little bit late even announcing who would be going on Friday. So that's the holdup on why there is no line. If it is Kremer, his ERA looks good. FIP a little bit higher. XFIP pretty good. So it's kind of a which way do you look. He's somewhere between average and maybe slightly better than average. The fact that the Orioles bullpen does have some depth helps him out. And of course, the Orioles offense helps out. For the Mariners, it's really all about Luis Castillo because that offense is very meh as it's been in the last several years. That all kind of washes out where we would say that Kremer's not bad. The Orioles offense is better. The Orioles bullpen's better, but Luis Castillo is one of the better pitchers in baseball. I don't think that's really shocking news to anybody. And we're giving the Orioles a 52% chance of winning this game, which is basically right around home field advantage with a projected total of 7.2. Again, depending on who actually goes for the Orioles, could change that projection. But if it is Kremer, then those are the metrics you can use to try to shop around, see if you can find a good price and see if there is any good value on the full game betting and first 5 stuff, always over on the Dub Club. Mets and the Marlins, Luis Severino and Braxton Garrett. Severino, really good ERA this year, 3 ERA, 3 flat. Underlying metrics a little bit higher than that. Still doesn't grade out very well, but definitely going in the right direction. Even if he continues to pitch where his XFIP is, which was right around 4, that would be on the other side of 100, where 100 is average. So again, go in the right direction, kind of slowly but surely. I'm very optimistic on him. Braxton Garrett in his first start did give up some runs, but the underlying metrics were just fine. I wouldn't be too concerned. I'm moderately high on both of these starting pitchers. The Mets, of course, have an edge on offense and in the bullpen. So that's why they are favored to win this according to the model 51% of the time. The market says 54%. The market's a little bit higher on the Mets. I think that makes sense because I'm higher on Severino than the model is as well. And so if Severino could come out of this with more of a 98 grade, which is more where he's pitched this season, then I think this number makes a lot of sense. Right now, the model's not really buying too much into what Severino's done this year, but I've really liked what I've seen from him. So the model would say that the value is on the Marlins. I'm not sure if there's that much value there because, again, I'm a little bit higher on Severino personally than the model is. That would also, if that was the case, if we were to go in there and adjust Severino's rating down, that would make the projected total a little bit less. And so the model would also say to go over. But again, if Severino's better, then the model realizes that projection would come down. So I think the discrepancy is, I think the model's not really a believer in Severino. How much do you believe in him probably tells you how you're going to play this one, if at all. Nats and the Phillies to the 6 o'clock games, 2 of them in this time slot, mid to low 60s, slight breeze in, maybe a little bit across. It should be fairly pitcher friendly here, unless that wind shifts completely across, but it's looking more in than across right now. Mackenzie Gore and Christopher Sanchez, a pair of lefties that I'm really high on. Both of these guys have mid-3 ERAs, but both of them have FIPs in the upper 2s and xFIPs around 3 or the low 3s. I'm really high on both of these starting pitchers. That's really all there is to say about it. Both of these bullpens are good enough for sure. The Phillies offense, again, does miss Trey Turner, especially against a lefty in Mackenzie Gore, but otherwise it's still pretty solid. They've looked really good as of late. The Nats have looked better than expected as well. We've got this at 62% for the Phillies. The market has it at 62%. This is a situation where some of these opening lines, I think, are priced pretty well. Sometimes it makes sense to fade the movement from the opening line, because the opening lines are created by books that have a lot of smart people working on these things. And then the market gets involved and starts moving it one way or the other. And it's not really a great move. We've seen that more these last 5 years in sports betting than we ever would have imagined seeing it before. Back in the day, the sportsbook just put out a number and they let the market do it. Now they put out a pretty good number from the start. And a lot of times the movement's wrong. So this is another game where I'd say, hey, if the movement goes too far one way, just fade it, because I think the price starting out is pretty good. The Phillies are favored by a little bit, and they should be favored by a little bit. On the total, we're a little bit more towards the under here. That's not the craziest thought. Might look at a first 5 as well, depending on what happens in the morning. But again, I like both these starting pitchers. So whether it's a first 5 or a full game under, neither one of those plays seems that crazy to me. Twins and the Guardians, mid-60s to start, around 60 degrees to close. Wind will be blowing in from right to center field, about 5 to 10 miles an hour. It's going to play pretty pitcher-friendly here Saturday night. Bailey Ober and Logan Allen. Ober's numbers are very solid. Upper 3s for the ERA, lower 3s for the FIP, mid 3s for the xFIP. Projects a little bit worse than that, but his grade is going in the right direction. Logan Allen, on the other hand, 5.56 ERA, FIP in the 5s. xFIP is better, at least in the mid 4s, but the Twins will have an edge at starting pitcher. That's about the only real difference. Everything else, I think, is rounding error. Of course, the game's in Cleveland, so the Twins have the better starter, but the game's in Cleveland. We're going to say this is pretty 50-50. The model gives the Guardians a 51% chance of winning. That is, again, assuming it is Logan Allen. The Guardians have not confirmed their starting pitcher here as of yet. To the 7 o'clock games, 4 of them in this time slot. A's and the Royals will start us off. A warm one with the wind blowing out. Going to actually have some hitter-friendly conditions in one of these games. Mid to low 80s. Wind will be blowing out to left center field at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Already a hitter-friendly ballpark, so expecting some runs in this one between Ross Stripling and Seth Lugo. Stripling, 4.98 ERA, but the underlying metrics are really positive. He doesn't grade out very well, but and I think that's partially because you pitch half your innings in Oakland. Your ERA should not be around 5, but it's a small sample size. He's had a little bit of bad luck. I don't think he's as bad as that 117 rating. I think he's probably more in the 105, 110 range. So far he's done okay this season. Seth Lugo, 166 ERA. The results have definitely been there. Again, remember, ERA is not the most predictive measure. Seth Lugo is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's not good. A 90 grade is good. What I am here to say is that his xFIP is close to 4. That's probably closer to how he projects going forward. Is more in the upper 3, low 4, which is still very good. I'm just saying let's temper the expectations that he's going to be a 166 ERA pitcher or even a 266 ERA pitcher. I don't think that's reality. I think his ERA is going to start to go up. It would partially, I would say, start to go up on a night like this with these weather conditions. However, with the A's offense, I don't know, maybe not. The A's offense isn't very good. Of course, the Royals offense isn't very good either. So a lot of battles here with regards to what we're expecting to happen. We're expecting a lot of runs based off of the weather. But we are expecting maybe not a lot of runs based off of, Lugo again being a very good pitcher. I don't think Stripling's as bad as those numbers, and these offenses can't really be trusted, and the bullpens are very solid. So a couple different battles there. At the end, putting all that together, the market thinks more like 8.5. The model thinks more like 9.5. So that would be the angle there. With regards to the side, the model would tell you to play the A's, that they would win this 43% of the time, so that the Royals are favored. They should be favored, but maybe not by this much. The Royals have been a team that might be getting a little bit too much hype. Again, I don't think they're quite as good as that record is. I would be very surprised if they played the rest of the season at this same entering Friday's game 26-19 pace. Does that mean they can't beat the A's? It doesn't absolutely mean that. Anything can happen in one game. It's just that the price is way too steep for the Royals. So we're looking at an over/A's or pass type deal for this game. Brewers and the Astros, probably going to close the roof in Houston on this one, as we're going to start off in the low 80s. Bryce Wilson and Justin Verlander. Verlander looked pretty good his last start. Underlying metrics are a little bit of a concern for him this season, and that's part of the reason why his grade is right around the league average at that 98. Bryce Wilson has gotten good results with the 2.65 ERA, but as with Verlander, underlying metrics a bit of a concern. Both of these guys have FIPS and xFIPS right around 5. The difference is Verlander has a history of being a much better pitcher. And of course, while he's a little bit older and that's a concern, we still trust him a little bit more. If you take these numbers for Verlander and give them to him 2 years ago, the grade probably would have still been in the 80s because we had more faith in him at that age. Whereas this year, we're a little bit more concerned. Still think Verlander's a better pitcher, but we're not overly sold on it. The Astros, of course, have an edge on offense. They're at home. They're favored. They should be favored. We're a little bit higher than the market on them. Not quite as much as we were on Friday, though. We've got them winning 61% of the time. The market has the Astros winning 58% of the time. This is an Astros or pass type game. It's also an over or pass type game, as the model is projecting 9 runs versus the market more in the 8.5 range. Only question is, do you want to play the Astros at a price at minus 145? The B grade threshold of minus 140 has not been reached. Do you want to play a -1? Do you want to play a money line parlay? Do you want to play Astros team total over and just assume their offense is looking pretty good here lately and they can get to Bryce Wilson in a very average Brewers bullpen? Do you just take the over, first over? A lot of different ways you can play it. We will have an official recommendation on Dub Club. So again, if you're interested in that, check that out. Padres and the Braves, mid-upper 60s. Wind kind of all over the map here, maybe even a chance of rain towards the end of this game. So weather spot to keep an eye on. Overall, it should play pretty average if I had to guess. Yu Darvish and Bryce Elder. Darvish, I don't know, continues to just look really good this year. It's surprising how, with his age and the wear and tear on his arm, he just continues to look really good. 2.43 ERA. Not that he couldn't have a good year, but just to have one of his better seasons so far, 40 innings in is a little bit surprising. And the FIP lines up right with it. The xFIP's a little bit higher. But so far, so good for him, and he's outpitched his rating for sure. Bryce Elder in his 4 starts, 4.79 ERA, and that's pretty accurate. He's been a subpar pitcher. The difference, of course, is once the starters are done, the Braves have a huge edge at reliever. Offensively, these two teams are both about the same. The model's got the Braves winning 54% of the time. We've got them winning 55% of the time. So not really much edge there. We might have a slight edge on the over, so it'd be an over or pass. But again, not looking to lock anything in, at least as of right now. The issue with this one is when you look at the Braves, if you're playing the over, you'd probably rather play the first 5 over because you don't really want their bullpen involved. You're looking at the Padres, you'd probably rather play the full game because you'd rather have the bullpen involved more than Yu Darvish. So not sure if there's going to be an opportunity here. Maybe there is. Again, once we get all the markets in, we'll have an update on Dub Club to see if there's an official play on this game. But for now, looking like a pass for me. Angels and the Rangers, 7:15 p.m. Eastern, probably closing the roof in Arlington, mid to lower 80s. Patrick Sandoval and Jose Urena. Sandoval much, much better than his 5 ERA. I love to back a pitcher like this if possible. We'll talk about the price here on the next screen, but anytime a guy's a 5 ERA, but his FIP and his xFIP are right around 3, I love to back that because I think there's some value on him. People are not really understanding just how good he is. Jose Urena has pitched partially in the pen for the Rangers. Pretty good results, 3.62 ERA. Underlying metrics are a little bit worse than that. He's not that good. I think Sandoval's still the better pitcher, despite having a higher ERA. But of course, that's the only area that the Rangers or it should be that the Angels will have an edge. Of note, though, the Rangers are pretty left-handed heavy right now, and so that's going to ding their win probability because for the first 5-ish innings, they will be facing a lefty. We've got the Rangers winning this 59% of the time. The market says 56%. So we are Rangers or pass in this one. The total looks spot on. But when you look at the B grade threshold of minus 128, we aren't quite there yet with the Rangers as the current price is minus 133. As always, the shop around. If you can find 5 cents better, it's that B grade price firing away on the Rangers. Even though, as I mentioned, I love to back a guy like Sandoval who's in this situation. The price just isn't there. The market just is too high on the Angels. So if we could have a play on the Rangers, it'd be great, but we are waiting for that B grade threshold. If you can shop around, find it somewhere else, great. Make sure you have multiple books in your portfolio. If you don't have an account there yet, BetUS is a great place to be. You can get 125% bonus on your first ever 3 deposits.
BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
Last 7 o'clock game before we get to 1 8 o'clock and 1 9 o'clock game. Red Sox and the Cardinals. Upper 70s to start, lower 70s to close. Slight breeze blowing out. May play slightly hitter-friendly. Cutter Crawford and Miles Michaelis. Crawford's been fantastic this year with that 2.24 ERA. Great FIP. XFIP a little bit higher, but he's a very good pitcher. His XFIP being closer to 4 is kind of why he's hanging around in that 90 grade and not more like an 80 grade. The results have been there. Again, I think he's good. I'm just not sure he can be quite this good. Miles Michaelis, 6.19 ERA, not that bad, but not very good. And you can see that on screen that the Red Sox have a massive starting pitcher edge. That's really the only difference between these two teams. Both of them offensively are very meh. They can score runs. They can disappear at times. Both these teams' bullpens are pretty solid. The Red Sox have the much better starting pitcher, but they're on the road. The market's got them winning 53% of the time. We've got them winning 54% of the time. It's not a great model play, but I mentioned this to everyone on Dub Club. At least at a price like minus 120, it's kind of Red Sox or pass because this starting pitching matchup is just a massive mismatch. I don't trust either offense, so at least give me the starting pitcher I trust. So if I'm playing this game, I'm playing Red Sox minus 120. I'm not loving it, again, because the model thinks it should be minus 116. I'd rather play a minus 115. But, as long as the price isn't out to the minus 130s or something, like I said, it's Red Sox or pass. If you want to play fewer games, definitely pass. But the Red Sox are the way I'd be looking here, given it's Crawford versus Michaelis. The other option might be an over. Don't really love over 8s as much as I like over 8.5. The reason why is because if we're going over 8.5, it means the model's probably projecting more like into the 9s, whereas we're only projecting 8.59 here. So if the model's, projecting 8.5, you can't have 8.5. If you land 8, you push, right? So it's maybe not the best number spot. Maybe the first 5 over makes more sense with these good bullpens. Again, we'll see in the morning if there's a first 5 play or not. No markets out right now, so can't really speak to it. Tigers and the Diamondbacks definitely closing the roof on this one. Be mid-90s to start in Arizona. Jack Flaherty and Zach Gallen. Flaherty's looked really good, and his underlying metrics are much better than his ERA. He looks good. Grade going the right direction. XFIP at 212. I mean, this guy looks like he's found what everyone's been hoping he'd find for years now with the ups and downs and injuries of his career. He looks really, really good. Unfortunately for the Tigers, that's the only great thing you could really say about them in this game. Their offense and relievers are not good. Snake's relievers not great either, but got a decent offense, and they've got Zach Gallen at home, who's one of the better pitchers in baseball. 2.86 ERA, number 18 of all starting pitchers, according to the model. Pretty reasonable underlying metrics, and a guy who, one of a handful of pitchers who does tend to do even better at home than on the road than most pitchers do. We're going to be on the Diamondbacks here at minus 149. The B grade threshold is minus 159. So we've got them winning 64% of the time, whereas the market thinks around 60. This is your A grade free show pick. And just as an FYI, this is the sort of information you get for every single game over on Dub Club. Weather, park, offensive pitchers versus lefty righties, relievers. Again, run line, reverse run line for each team, first 5 total, full game total, all sorts of great information that you get every single day on every single game over on Dub Club. So your free show A grade play of the day here, Diamondbacks minus 149. And again, bunch of other great information on Dub Club, more picks, more A grades if you want to join us over there. Again, link in the show description. If you just want to go month to month, that's great. But if you're interested in getting all of baseball here, the 4-month package, again, on sale for $99.99 this weekend only with promo code WKD. Check that out if you have not yet. Then last but not least, your 9 p.m. Eastern, Reds and the Dodgers around 60 degrees to start, mid-50s to close. We'll be blowing out a little bit. Still should play slightly pitcher-friendly because the temperature isn't that warm. Graham Ashcraft and Walker Buehler. Ashcraft, very average. Pitcher, 4.12 ERA. XFIP's a little bit better than that. FIP's a little bit higher. Just kind of getting the job done, decent pitcher. Otherwise, the Reds aren't that good, according to the model, and according to the record as well at this point. Walker Buehler has struggled coming back from injury, to say the least. His grade is taking a hit. At this point, I still think Buehler's the better pitcher, but he definitely has the higher error bars. He could be great, and he could really blow up. So that adds an extra bit of uncertainty. Offensively, of course, the Dodgers offense is incredible. The Reds offense isn't. The Dodgers are big favorites. They should be big favorites. But folks, I told you all on Thursday, some of these big numbers we have to just be careful about. And sure enough, the Dodgers lost that opening game. The Dodgers should win this game, but we have to think about things in terms of probability and the price. And that's why, laying minus 300 with the Dodgers on Thursday might not have been the smartest move. That doesn't mean laying minus 300 always is a bad move. It just meant in that game, it wasn't the best move. If we've got a situation where, you've got the Dodgers at home against the White Sox and the 2 best hitters in the White Sox are sick, I'd lay minus 300 in a heartbeat, right? And some of you might say you take the run line. That's fine too. But the point is that those are typically correlated. If you have value on one, you have value on the other. Whatever the number can be, it can have value. It's just we have to compare it to what's the real probability they win. That's not necessarily the easiest thing to derive. That's why I built a model to help us. And in this case, the Dodgers are big favorites. The number should start with a 2. It does start with a 2. Unfortunately, it's not really a great investment here at minus 215. That doesn't mean the Reds are a good investment either. At this point, it looks like it's priced pretty well. The total's priced pretty well. The run line market is not out yet, but my hunch is the run line market is priced pretty well. Again, we have those probabilities and what the prices should be in those thresholds as well. Maybe there's a first 5 opportunity. I will just, again, close with this note, again, with Walker Buehler. A lot of extra variance there. So not saying the Reds would be the best up early pick, but they might be worth a look here, at least on Saturday night, because anything can happen in that first inning. Because at this point, I'm not trusting Walker Buehler until he really shows he's got everything back going. I'm sure he will, and I'm sure he'll be a really good pitcher, but so far it's been a little bit shaky. That doesn't mean I'm playing the Reds, though. They aren't a very good team. They should lose. And again, it's all about the price in this case. I think this one's priced pretty well. Again, remember, check us out on Dub Club if you haven't yet. No shows on Sunday. So for the Sunday picks, all the picks, extra picks, all the extra A grades, you only got one on show. But the other A grades, the play of the day, all the summaries, all the information, the Discord chat, all the fun you can have over there, all that's over on Dub Club. That link is the first link in the show description. And if you're interested in the 4-month package, on sale now for $99.99, gets you through most of the rest of the baseball season and starting into football. Promo code WKD. Hit that up if you haven't yet. It's available to current subscribers as well. So if you're a current subscriber looking to go to a longer package, that might be a good idea to there get you through these summer months at a discounted rate. Better than the usual month-to-month price. Otherwise, though, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.